What are the basics of agile budgeting and estimation? Understand the why over the what. That is extremely important because that will get you to know your how will you do it. Say they want a Ferrari, for an example. If they just need to get from A to B, ask the client, why a Ferrari? Why do you need a Ferrari? I can just develop a scooter for you. Won't a scooter be easier? It will use a lot less money, it will use a lot less resources, and your work is done. So directly getting to the high why, always understand that for what this is going to be used for. Directly getting to is, okay, I'm going to build you a Ferrari right away. Don't do that. Always understand what the client is trying to tell you and what is their purpose behind it. Measure. Why have they landed on an ideal budget? If this is due to a competitor, measure all the related specs and compare to understand if the desired outcome can be achieved. It is very natural that what happens, a client, for example, Samsung looks at Apple and tells, okay, let's make a phone similar to this. Let's allocate the same budget that Apple has allocated. No, it doesn't work like that. Apple is going to have a lot more different functionalities, a lot more different interface, a lot of use of different chips. It uses Intel or it uses M2 now. What is Samsung using? Is it still using Intel? So all these little components need to be measured as to why the client has chosen this particular budget. In real time, this actually happens when the product owner also sits with the client and tells them, okay, this is going to be my this is going to be the cost that is going to be allocated to my resources. This is how much I'm going to be charging for every feature. This also allows the client to actually develop a good budget as per my personal experience. Who are the users? It will help you focus on value, designate the project priorities, and guide stakeholders towards the common goals. It is very important to know who your users are, because once you know who your users are, a common goal has been set. This common goal guides everyone, because you need to understand who are you doing it for as well. For example, are you doing it for the stakeholders? Are you doing it for the product team? If you're doing it for the stakeholders, you need to constantly keep them in the loop as to where their budget is being used, which functionality have you reached, what is the urgency of the project as well. This quite a lot depends on the user capacity that you're working for as well. Permutations and combinations. Usually when it comes to budgeting, you can present several options. Say if you have a less budget, you can just tell them, I can give you a scalable product. This much budget will only give you this much. For example, you want to build a game and I can give you the beta version of this game, a scalable product in this much budget. Say you want to build a minimum viable product, it's going to cost you more. And if you want to build the exact ideal product, this is how much it's going to cost you. Try to get the budget to at least MVP, because in real time it is very important. Once you have MVP, the client realizes that you're actually using their money for the actual purposes that you promised them for. This is as per my experience once again. This lesson also tells us that you have to set your expectations. You need to understand all the variables, because this happens more than often that if you ask the client for the money and if you haven't made them clear of different variables that you're going to encompass in this project, they will very much neglect or your ask for over budget, because they might just feel you're trying to extort money out of them. So always be very clear of your variables from the very beginning.